So first, spell your first and last name.
Sarah McVay, Sarah, McVay, McVay.
Okay. Explain how your life was before COVID, so almost a year ago.
Yeah, so before COVID, my life was actually very good. Like, I had a very large group of friends. We traveled a lot. We were constantly together. Before COVID, I was living in the dorms for 6 months, so I got a taste of what college would have been like. And it was amazing to build friendships and large groups of people, yeah.
Do you remember the time when everything started changing?
Yeah, I do remember. I remember the exact day that everything started to change with COVID.
When was it?
It was March 13th, and that was the day. It's very ingrained in my memory because we were leaving to go off to spring break, and we had heard about what COVID was, this scary disease, and that everyone was different levels of worried about it. We all went home. We had exams that week prior, so no one partied, no one got to say goodbye to each other. We all just disappeared and thought we'd see each other in another week. And then we didn't, and everything changed.
Do you remember your last day at the dorms?
I do and I don't remember my last day at the dorms because I remember that it was so mundane that it was almost not memorable. It was just a day where everybody just left, and I didn't even say goodbye to my roommate. We just went home and thought we'd see each other in a few days.
How long has it been since you've seen your roommate?
It has been about 9 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was life during quarantine like for you?
So life during quarantine for me was, I would think, worse than even like the people that I knew. So I went back home, but I have a autoimmune disease, so I'm even higher risk for COVID than most anybody else I know. And because of that, me and my family made the decision that I would stay completely isolated for months. So while a lot of my friends still could hang out in very small groups or could have little tiny movie nights, I could not. I didn't see anyone, and I was just very isolated, which takes a toll on you mental health wise when you just came from college with tons and tons of friends. So it was very jarring.
What was your day-to-day quarantine life like in those months you were isolated?
Yeah, so day to day in quarantine, it started off where I didn't think I'd be in it for so long, so I just went about with what I normally did. I took summer classes and just tried to stay in the routine, tried not to think that things were different. And then it all kind of just kept going downhill, and I just tried to watch movies and do yoga, all the little trends that popped up. I went on walks, and that's pretty much all that I could do.
What about college during COVID? How has that been? What's been different about college during COVID?
Yeah, college during COVID is a completely different experience from first what you're told college is going to be like, and then what I had that small taste of it to be. Friend groups are extremely small now from the time that we spent so much away from each other. We lost a lot of connections, and then you just can't see that many people at a time. So it's really just me and my roommate most of the time.
What about schoolwork?
Yeah, schoolwork is pretty much all your life is. You don't get a break from school because there's nothing to leave and go to do. There's no break. There's no distinction and separation in your life. It's really just school, and you're in the same place. There's no happiness.
What about your relationship? So you said you have a smaller friend group now because of COVID. Is that safety reasons or personal reasons?
Yeah, so I have a smaller friend group because of COVID, a little bit due to both safety reasons and personal kind of emotional things where we all didn't see each other for so long, and I specifically was isolated for so long that you just don't talk to people the same way or at all anymore. So that really brought the levels of groups down. But then also health-wise reasons, everyone has a different level of their health standard and their health concerns. So you can really only see people that are on your same wave of how often they want to see people, how often they need to get tested. And just for the safety of the general public, you can't go out a lot with big groups.
What do you do to keep yourself busy during quarantine?
to keep myself busy during quarantining, school is just a big part of it. I've always just really liked to focus on school and use that as a distraction. But other than that, I watch movies, I do yoga.
Are there any clubs or extracurriculars you're able to do even at a distance?
Yeah, so along with yoga, I'm in a club for dance that is here at UNC, and we do virtual dancing. So you set up a video camera in your living room, and you go and you enter the Zoom calls that you've entered into 1,000 times for actual classes, but this time you're just dancing around in your living room alone, but watching somebody else do it, teaching it to you from their living room.
What about like cooking? Did you pick up on anything in the kitchen or anything like that?
Yeah, so my roommate is actually definitely more of the cook, so I didn't pick up on too much of that, but I definitely got into the trends of the coffee, trying to make, different kinds of that. But my roommate makes brownies for us, and we sit in there and have dinner most nights.
Okay. So how is COVID during school, like being a college student with schoolwork during COVID?
Yeah, being a college student during COVID is very difficult. The only thing you really can do is schoolwork a lot of the time. So I find myself really obsessing and just doing schoolwork constantly because there's no different space for me to relax in. There's no break. I do schoolwork for probably 6 hours a day, if not more, just based on studying, completing assignments. The amount of time that you spend in Zoom is a lot because that's what you would normally be doing in class. You would normally be walking there, walking back, but it's really just you wake up, you enter a Zoom call, and you stare at all the screens and names of everybody else.
Have you been able to make friendships in these Zoom calls, or is it hard because it's all online?
It is hard to make friendships through school now. Most of my friendships are from the very small 6 months that I was here in person. You can meet people that can be your class friends, people to work with on little assignments, but no one really transfers outside of a class to be a larger life friend because you don't know where they live. You don't even know most of the time, other than their face that's the screen. You don't even see them.
What things through UNC are you active in outside of schoolwork? Have you been able to keep yourself busy with anything else?
Yeah, so outside of schoolwork, I'm involved in some things at UNC. I am in a club that is for dancing. So you set up in your living room and you do virtual dancing, kind of like Zoom calls are virtual. But I danced for 15 years before I came to college, so I was always dancing as a little kid. It was my whole personality, and my favorite part of it was just being in that atmosphere. Like, it didn't matter what style of dance you were doing, it didn't matter if you fell, it didn't matter if you were even good. It just mattered that you were there. And now you're not there. The atmosphere is completely different because it's just putting in your headphones and listening to people try to explain things, which is really hard to not be able to see them and have them show you and correct you. They can't even see you. They don't know if you're doing it right, and you don't know which arms they're doing. So it's extremely difficult, but trying.
What other things do you keep yourself busy with outside of dance and school when you have some free time?
Yeah, so when I have some free time and it's not taken over by dance or schoolwork, I like to watch movies. I'm a very big movie person. That's what I found myself doing to try to wind down when you're in the same atmosphere as you're always doing school in. So I watch movies pretty much every night with either my roommate or just myself. I'm a horror fan, but I also like action, so I watch movies pretty much every day.
What's your routine for watching a movie?
Yeah, so for watching a movie, I'll usually make some form of dinner, usually pizza, but I try not to eat too much of it, but I love pizza. And then I'll sit down to either eat that while I watch the movie, or I'll make popcorn, because popcorn, as my roommate says, is going to be the death of me. I eat way too much of it. And just sit down on our couch and curl up with a blanket, watch a movie. Sometimes I'll do schoolwork during that, but most of the time I try to make it a complete break from anything in school.